I'm going to start with Bill Boswell. And Bill is recently engaged, so congratulations to Bill. Bill is with our Franklin Lakes office, and he started in 2005 and has quickly risen and has worked his way right into the luxury market using the previews listings. And so welcome. I've had the opportunity to work with Bill before on a panel, and he does a great job. So welcome, Bill.
Check your pocket. You got the wrong one. I bet you can still hear me.
Good morning. Before I get started, I'm going to share a really quick funny story. I called Tracy last night to ask her a question, which I'll get to in a second. And as the phone was ringing, I figured it'd be funny to make her think I was backing out today. So she picks up the phone. I go, Tracy, I'm sick. And she goes, no, you're not. So I wasn't getting out of this one, even if I tried. One more thing, and hopefully this doesn't count toward my time. I want to welcome someone really special here today. Some of you that know me know that I was just recently engaged over this summer, and my fiance, who is not in real estate, has come out here today. Elena, if you could just give a quick wave. If you see her in the hall later, thank her for me, and wish her luck. All right, sales. We are all in one of the oldest industries in the world. And like anything, as societies and cultures continue to evolve, so do our effective sales techniques. And being in real estate, it's vital that we be able to connect with just about anyone that we come in contact with, regardless of their age or cultural background. And this ability to connect, or in some cases, disconnect, really falls back on our core business philosophy. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you my two-part business philosophy that nearly guarantees you'll be able to connect with just about anybody that you come in contact with. It paves a literal pathway for you to turn a simple handshake into a lifelong, loyal client. For some of you, it may be a refresher, but for others, a light may go on in your mind, letting you know if you can operate your business from these two standpoints alone, you will be guaranteed success. Both involve creating something that's not yet there. In the first, we create value. And in the second, we work to create comfortable environments. Good job. Creating value. I'm going to jump right in here. We as realtors tend to be very good at initially conveying value. That is what exactly we do and how good we do it. But the truth is that a real realtor-client relationship doesn't begin when we talk the talk, but it really begins when we start to walk the walk. And our main goal should be to constantly and consistently create value in every contact with the potential client so that we rise up in their mind and become that go-to person when anyone mentions or even thinks about real estate. And it could be something as simple as a home down the street just sold from somebody that you've been looking to work with for a while. Pick up the phone, give them some real estate related value, tell them what it closed for, and tell them when it closed. We must again and again, through every interaction with that potential client, provide, again, some kind of real estate related value. And some of us can get away with providing value, period, in things like recipe cards, which I certainly can't pull off, but I like to keep things focused on real estate. And I always laugh when people tell me that loyalty is gone in this business, especially in younger generations. And I couldn't disagree more. The truth is that younger generations have a very specialized mindset, meaning that they have a very good knowledge base of their specific area of expertise, but they're not all that concerned maybe with some other areas. What they'd rather have is somebody that they can depend on in each position for sound, confident advice. A doctor, a mechanic, a realtor. So through that value creation, we can substantiate ourself as that go-to person. We will create a lifelong, loyal client. Creating comfortable environments. This is in direct opposition to what I call hard selling techniques of times past. When I first came into the business, a gentleman sat me down and he said, when you go in there on your first listing appointment, I don't care what happens, I want you to leave there with that listing agreement signed. And I remember thinking to myself, if anybody ever walked into my house and tried to make me sign something that I wasn't ready to sign, I'd probably throw them out, and I would definitely never talk to them again. And what's important is that we realize when someone is not doing what we want them to do, there's something that's holding them back. A worry, a fear, maybe a concern. And our goal should always be to make the process as comfortable as possible, remove those hurdles that are in front of people, and allow them to step forward on their own. We do that, we isolate those fears, worries, and concerns by asking questions. I think sometimes we take for granted that if someone's worried about something, they're automatically going to let us know. And the truth is that they're not. So don't be afraid. Ask questions. Constantly find out what's going on in the mind of your potential client and move forward in removing those hurdles so that they're comfortable with moving forward on their own. At the end of the day, when that transaction's done, yes, it might take a week or two longer than if you were pushing things along, but your client is going to notice. And they're going to know that you stood next to them at every step, worried about their worries, concerns, and needs, not that of your own. The chances are at the end of that process, you're going to be again left with a lifelong loyal client. Like I said before, if you wake up every morning and operate your business focused on these two standpoints alone, you're guaranteed success. It does pave that pathway for you to turn that hello, that introduction, into a lifelong loyal client. First, work constantly and consistently to create value. You're going to get some great ideas on value creators here today. Then, constantly work to keep your customer, your client, as confident, as calm as possible. The truth is that modern sales isn't really sales at all. It's pure customer service. And if we work tirelessly to serve the needs of each and every one of our clients, our pipeline will be forever full. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Brian. Next, we have Jayne Camlin, and Jayne is with the Middletown office. She is a 23-year veteran.
6.
And Jayne has...
Who's counting?
And Jayne has also been participating in our management assessment profile last year, and has been going on to go through the courses, so we've had a great opportunity to get to know her better. Welcome, Jayne.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I have to say I agree 100% with Bill, and I did when I first met him, and we kind of went through this for the managers. And it's really how, even though I've been doing this 26 years, it's probably in the last 8 to 10 years that the concept of creating value has really opened my eyes. And I don't see myself as a salesperson. And I think when I did, all that pressure to perform as a salesperson just didn't go with my personality. And so I see my role as a consultant, as a real estate consultant. And that's how I approach my clients, by creating value for them. And so just to tell you a story, about 6 or 7 years ago, I had like an epiphany when it came to representing sellers. And I saw my role as a listing agent. That's what we call ourselves. And we pull our paperwork together and get our documents and go over there and do what we can. We're trained to, is to get the listing. And I saw how the world was changing, how our industry was changing, and how the consumer shops differently. And, years ago, as you know, we had control of the inventory. They would come into the office and we would have the opportunity to introduce the properties that we thought best suited them. And, they would have their input, and we'd get in the car and we'd go. And I realized, watching how things were changing, that I no longer, as the listing agent, had the control of driving the traffic through my property. And so I saw my role changing. Like, can I do what I've been doing all this time and be successful at it? So I look at it and keeping it simplifying in 2 different ways, that understanding the difference of what a listing agent is and what a marketing specialist is. The bygone agent, which is bygone. What? Okay. All right, well, I'm totally on my own here. Okay. Oh, okay, there we go. Listing agent. The goal is to go in and get the listing. It's to, tell them to put, we put the sign in the lawn, the lockbox, we tell them to declutter, clean off the table, make their beds, do the dishes, and then we take our photos, our own photos, we put it in the MLS, we write our ad copy, and do the open houses, and we do whatever we can to draw buyers by getting price reductions, and, really haven't learned anything different. What I call the present-day agent, and what that means now, is completely understanding and getting, and I think it really needs to be an epiphany for us, what the buyer's expectations are, and what they're looking for and how they shop. And so then how do we enable that? We do that by empowering and educating the sellers to package their home for profit. Creatively drawing the buyers in through selling benefits and lifestyle, and doing that in an ad copy, being creative, and by pricing it competitively and not overpricing and then scaring the buyers away. And so how I set myself apart and how you can do the same is by telling them the truth. And that's really where was a revelation to me, where I realized that their home was one click away from never being shown. And when that was profound to me, and I realized, well, what do I do to change that? I realized that I had to tell them the truth about their home and how. So when I sit down with the seller, I understand what my role is in a consultative approach is to empower them, to educate them, to put them in the best position to make the best decisions to get them the most money and sell in the shortest time. And so by doing that, it's by telling them the truth and delivering that in a very sincere, honest way, professional, and no one's doing it, or very few people are doing it, because they're there to get the listing, they're scared. I see all of my interviews as a two-way interview. I don't take all of my listings, and I tell my clients, I really appreciate being here. I see this as a two-way interview, and and then I tell them how I work. And so it really liberates me that I'm not there to get it, and the pressure is off. I'm always nervous, as I am on any appointment, but once I start speaking, it flows, and then they see the sincerity. They know that I'm passionate about this, and they believe me. And the reason it is because it's in their best interest. And like Bill said, when you're creating value, when you're putting their needs above your own, they see that. They see that in your eyes, they hear it in your voice, and then they trust you. And people do business with people that they like and that they trust. By educating and empowering them, we know as agents, when we're out there shopping with buyers and taking them through, we know that they're shopping for condition. We know that. Very few people are buying the handymans or the tired, the dated, and if they are, they want huge price reductions. So if we're the listing agent, why aren't we telling our clients that? A lot of times I hear agents telling sellers that, I'm the other agent in there, and, oh, no, the other agent told me the carpeting is fine, or, no, I don't need to change that. What I see this as is being afraid to have those conversations with the sellers because you're in fear of losing the listing is you're potentially leaving tens of thousands of dollars of their money on the table. And so when I tell my clients that, I say, look, I'm here to tell you the truth because I have your best interest at heart. And the final decision is yours because it's your home. That's the good news. But I'm going to do everything I can to put you in a position of power and of strength and of strong negotiating skills. And by doing that, it's by telling them the truth. And buyers want move-in ready. And when they understand that their home is one click away from never being shown, it's profound to them. And so, when you explain how buyers are shopping, and that's part of your presentation, and buyers buy a home based on how they feel in that home. And so that's how, and every seller that I know just about wants the most money for their house. And so this is how I go about creating that. So telling them that their house is one click away from never being shown, and that it's my job to prevent that. That I tell them that I only have the power. I can't drag people into their house. I can't force a buyer in. But I can expose their home to the largest audience of buyers by helping them and empowering them to package it for profit, thereby intriguing the buyer and creating such an excitement in the buyer that they're practically running to the house. How? By preparing a house versus staging. I don't use the word staging. I don't like it. I think it's overrated. It's kind of like gourmet food. I think it's the public, it's a misconception to them. They think it's redecorating. They think it's going to cost a lot of money. They think, and I think a lot of agents think it's clean off the countertops, put flowers out, some throw blankets. It's very, very different from that. Preparing your home for sale, how you do that is you have to convince them that they cannot sell their home the way they live in it. You know, it's perfect and fine the way they live in it. We all live in homes very comfortably and naturally, but when you're selling it, it's a completely different thing. And what you're wanting to do is that you want to assure them that it is normal that way, and that you want to make it a product for sale, and that to package it for them as a product for sale. Staging costs a lot of money. As I said, it's redecorating. Sometimes the agents say they'll do it for them. And so preparing, though, is making necessary repairs, what I call removing the ka-ching-chings, you know, from the buyer's mind. The floors and the walls, to me, have been the most important element that I see, along with the wow factor, as I call it, and making it up-to-date and relevant. I have many times dated kitchens, dated baths, dated windows and siding, but when you can create a wow and an emotion in that house by making the repairs, changing a carpet, redoing hardwood floors, and then positioning that house and making each room look fabulous, and then delivering that into, online, then you're getting the emotion, the wow factor. It is smoke and mirrors, but you know what? It works. And that's what's fabulous about it. Decluttering, obviously, is common sense. Anybody can do that. Depersonalizing, very important. Making necessary repairs is just wise, because you know they're going to be found out anyway. But creating the wow factor, I think, is key, and it's imperative in getting the most money for the house, and maybe even more than they deserve, and I've seen it time and time again. Because it's getting the buyer to react sooner than they normally would. And our role is to, as marketing specialists, to know this and understand that that's where our buyer is coming from, and that it's not changing. It's only going to get more and more like that. And then to empower our sellers by educating them. Don't leave their money on the table by being afraid to have the conversation. And I'm telling you, it will set you apart from the others that are coming in to get the listing and telling them what they want to hear. The outcome will be that the seller and the agent, both of you, will negotiate from a position of strength and not weakness, and that it creates a win-win. For the sellers, they get the most for their house, and the buyers are excited. As you know, and many here know what it's like for a buyer to get a house that they really love. And it creates what I call staying power. You know how when a buyer loves a house and they really want it, you know, they behave a little better. And that means a lot. But the thing is, you have to believe this. And if you don't believe it, it's going to be very hard to deliver. It's something I have to wrestle my clients. I call it, I wrestle them to the mat 5-6 times. 99.9% of them I convince. They always thank me after. But if you're passionate about your job and knowledgeable about how real estate is sold today, it's not a difficult sale. And it does get, when I say a bit easier, it is only a bit easier. It is difficult, but again, when I look at it, it's in their best interest. It would be remiss of me to not tell them that. I give them the final say, and you know, I let it be what it's going to be. But someone once said, I don't know who it was, but just show up, be prepared, tell the truth, and don't be attached to the outcome. And that's worked for me, and I hope it works for you.
Thank you, Jayne. Next up, we have Bobby Daddis, and Bobby is a technology expert. He uses social media, video, and email and texting in his business. And a fun fact about Bobby, which I just learned this morning, is he was the executive chef for Jimmy Kimmel Live.
That is a fun fact.
It is a fun fact. Welcome.
How we doing, guys? Just so I don't get in trouble when I go home after this, I brought my fiance with me as well. And I could see myself driving home and her, oh, well, Bill said hello to his fiance. He gave a shout out. So shout out to my fiance, Teresa, who's here with me. And she actually just joined my team. All right, guys, for some of you, this is going to sound very basic. For others, it might be a little over your head. But the bottom line is I've used technology and online marketing in real estate since I started with my career, and I've been very successful with it. And I just kind of wanted to go over a couple basic elements that I feel you need to have in place to meet buyers and sellers' expectations in 2013. What is the new norm, pretty much, when it comes to what they're expecting out of you? And really, a basic, solid online foundation is mandatory for now and going into the future, for the future of your career. What buyers expect? First and foremost, all buyers nowadays expect you to have a website with a home search option, an integrated IDX or MLS search. If you don't already have one yet, you got to get one, not just for them to use while they're searching for their home, but just for there to be someplace to send them, that they can see more about you. When people are looking your name up online, looking for realtors online, you want them to be able to find your website. If you don't have a website, it doesn't look like you're with the times. And if you're not with the times online, maybe you're not with the times in other avenues or other aspects of your business, I should say. These days, we have to have at least a small social media presence. And when I say that, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you don't have to go crazy with it, but try and stay lightly active, and it's other outlets that people can find you in when they're looking up your name. They see, hey, they have a website, they have Coldwell Banker's website, they're on LinkedIn, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. It looks like you're active online, and it shows that you're staying with the times, if you will. One thing that I have found to be incredibly lucrative when it comes to my business is lightly soliciting online reviews from my clients. My past buyers and sellers both get an email from me with a couple links to different review sites I use. Now, I would say pick 2 or 3. I use Trulia, Zillow. I also use Google Reviews and Yelp. Trulia and Zillow sometimes a little better because those reviews never disappear, while Google and Yelp have a tendency to have some slip by. But when somebody sees that you have 20 positive reviews, just like with anything else that they're looking up on the computer, whether it's a restaurant or a service, people are drawn to people with a large amount of positive reviews. So you can imagine if you have 15 or 20 positive reviews and your competitors all have 2 or 3, they're much more likely to click and find out more information about you than they are about the other people. All right? Now, these things that you put in place, these are also things that you can utilize to generate leads. For instance, your website. Nowadays, it's pretty hard to SEO a website since all the bigwigs, all the big companies kind of monopolize those search engine pages. Zillow, Trulia, whether it be the corporate websites. So nowadays, we're kind of stuck with Google AdWords pay-per-click. It is a little expensive, but not comparable to how expensive it would be to actually SEO your website. And when using Google AdWords or anything that's pay-per-click like that, which puts your information on the front page, you're creating ads. So this is where we actually are salesmen. There's no doubt that the one biggest, probably the most important thing that I picked up throughout the last couple years is learning how to write sales copy. Learning copy is so crucial, and when you're online and you're incubating leads online, sales copy is how you're going to get them to pay attention to what it is that you're offering. So absolutely, in fact, at the end of this, I'm going to give you a link to Copywriter's Blueprint that you can go to. It's a free PDF, a 58-page PDF. I suggest you download it and definitely just get familiar with some of the power words, some of the keywords. There's a psychology behind it that draws people in. What do sellers expect from you? Well, for one, I'm sure nobody in here is the person who puts 0 or 1 picture up on their MLS when they list a house. Use all 25 photos. Use all 25 photos, whichever your MLS allows you to use. Use all 1,024 characters. Listen, this is a sales pitch that gets syndicated to 300 websites plus, whatever it may be. So not only are you doing this for the sake of selling your home, but buyers who are casually searching for new homes are coming across your listings, and if they have a home to sell, they're going to see that you do good sales copy with the homes that you list. They're going to see that you use professional photographers, or at least pro photos, not dark ones, not awful ones, should I say, and use photos. It amazes me how few people utilize all the photos that are available to us, because this is free marketing. Also, these days, sellers are coming to expect that you have a virtual tour. There are do-it-yourself ones that are super easy. Circle Picks is one. And when they see somebody else with a virtual tour, they wonder why they don't have one. So just something to keep in mind. So that's basically it for me, guys. Here's a link to this Copywriting 101 book. I suggest you all go write this down, agenthippo.com. And it's your free Copywriter's Blueprint, a complete guide to mastering the art of copywriting. It's actually an easy read. If you just take a little from it, trust me, it'll benefit your business. And I'm going to leave you with one more free tool. If you've given up on Craigslist because you feel like it doesn't generate any ads, there is a way around that, or I'm sorry, any leads. there is other ways to get around this. I get multiple leads a day via my Craigslist ads by using this tool at hippolister.com, and basically what it allows you to do is post the same ad 4, 5, 6 times a day, because I know in the markets that we work in, the ads are so saturated that you get left behind by the mid-afternoon with so many people posting. While this tool allows you to upload your ad, run it 5 or 6 times a day, it's kind of a Craigslist rule bender. I suggest you definitely take advantage of it. So that's it for me, guys. Good luck in 2013. If any of you ever have any questions, you want some guidance, advice, feel free to email me, bobby@bobbydaddis.com. I'm always here for you guys, and good luck.
Thank you. And next up, we have Elizabeth Keyloun. Elizabeth started her real estate career in 2001 and was the shooting star, starting off with a bang, and I've known Elizabeth ever since. So Elizabeth, welcome, and she's going to talk, and she's going to bring us back to basics.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I've learned a lot today so far. And thank you to all my colleagues for being here. I see you all out there. Susan, no faces. Back to basics. Whenever I'm asked to fill out those forms, those career forms, to check off your career, I hesitate to check off real estate sales. Because to me, there should be a tab that reads social worker offering superb service. That's because in this business, it always boils down to people. And for the most part, it's people in a crisis mode. They're leaving their home, their comfort zone, they're moving on, or they're moving into a new and unfamiliar place. And so today I'm going to speak to you about the basics. I'm going to talk to you about applied people senses. What does that mean? It means an active, positive use of your instincts and your perceptions. In other words, how to read people and use that knowledge to make a real estate sale. Remember, one's nature doesn't change. It remains consistent. And the more you get beneath those surface facades of a person's personality, the more you can predict their responses. The more I know and the sooner I know about that person that I'm dealing with, the more effective and prepared I'm going to be. There are 5 basic categories to applied people senses. They are trust your insights, listen aggressively, observe aggressively, take advantage of the venue, and gestures. Trust your insights, that gut feeling you have when you meet a client for the first time. In my area, there are many Wall Street bankers. I like to say they're giant egos with some arms and legs sticking out. They tend to know more than anyone, and it's a challenge that I love. Instead of challenging and confronting that ego, it's far easier and more effective to acknowledge and understand it. Does it need stroking? Does it need poking? Is it just stubborn? Is there a reasonable side? Is there a good sense of humor? Because when egos take complete charge of both ends of a transaction, things happen that should not. I have gone into situations many times and they didn't work out the way I wanted them to. I think we've all been in listing presentations when you find out mid-presentation that they really just wanted your opinion, and that they've already hired or going to hire a family member to be their realtor. But if I had a favorable impression of that person, it always was payback for me in the end, be it through favors, through kind words, through a new familiar face in town to say hello to, and many times referrals. Don't get me wrong, I've gone into plenty of situations where they didn't go the way I wanted them to, and I didn't trust I try now to trust that feeling and to just move on and not focus on it and just say I'm grateful because it wasn't going to work out anyway. Listen aggressively. That was the hardest one for me to learn. It implies you have to talk less, and realizing that silence is golden. Knowing when to remain silent. First of all, it keeps you from saying more than you need to say, and it forces the other person to say more. Simply being silent can strongly influence the impression that you make of others. Be discreet, particularly when finances are involved. The confidentiality builds trust. This past year, I had 2 separate listings, and the clients were best friends. And one day, client number 1 came to me and asked me a question about client number 2, and I just smiled, and I said nothing. And she said, let's see, she said, I quote, "Oh, I forgot, you're not going to say anything. I have to call her and ask her myself." And then she giggled, and she said, "You are so silly, but that's why we love you." Observe aggressively. Just watch. Watch those fringe times. They're so telling. Whenever I take a client out for the first time, I always watch. They come in my car, and I always watch who gets in the car, who opens the door for whom, and whom sits where. It's very, very telling. And it's also very interesting to listen to the conversation that ensues after that. And it teaches you a lot about the people you're dealing with. Let's see. Detach. It's one of the most important aspects of negotiation. You gotta detach. My rule is if you don't react, you can't overreact. So it's really important to detach. The next category is take advantage of the venue. Remember, those first impressions that the client has of you are of utmost importance. Therefore, take advantage of the venue by professional dress, good phone manners, and timely communication. Dress professionally, as though you mean business. Meet people at the office by simply being polite and making the other person feel comfortable. You can diffuse any tension, and you can build confidence and trust. Remember, good manners make lasting impressions that are favorable. And those favorable impressions allows you to get away with the occasional transgression that we all have. One of my pet peeves is when someone calls me and they don't introduce themselves. I spend the whole first part of the conversation trying to figure out who this person is. I don't hear a word that they're saying. I always, always introduce myself. Even to my dad, who always responds the same, "I know who this is." If you say you're gonna do something, just do it. I've learned that the hard way. No matter how difficult the phone call, no matter how difficult the appointment, do what you say you're gonna do. And it's difficult at times, but it's something that you just gotta do and get through. Gestures. Recently, a famous realtor in our area passed away, and in her obituary, it read that she lived her life by her lifelong motto, which was, "It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice." Do something nice. You can do something nice for the kids. If you're on a long showing day, bring treats in the car for them. Think of them. Think of their individuality. I once had a client whose every time I met with her, she was a relocation client coming from out of area, so she had her daughter with her, and every time she came, she had a new pair, the little girl had a new pair of socks on, and they were all kind of wild, funky socks. I went to Walgreens, I saw bright mix-match socks, I bought them, they were inexpensive, I gave them to her the next time, and for a week, I got a daily picture of her and her new socks. So treat people the way you would like to be treated. Letters, I write them. I handwrite them, I personalize them, and I send them. I love coming home at the end of a tiring, exhausting day and having a handwritten note of appreciation. Who wouldn't? I make the time to do that. Also, I let people off the hook. I think it's very important in negotiations. For example, if a client of mine says something just ridiculous, or be it not truthful, be it hurtful, be it just darn obnoxious, I let them off the hook. I really don't say anything. I just let them off the hook. And my silence kind of lets them know my feelings. Many times over the years, I've had clients that just couldn't get it together to move. It's a letting go thing, and I think mostly with women. And I just let them off the hook. I show up in my work clothes, my blue jeans and my t-shirts, and I just let them off the hook. I just show up, I listen, and I start to pack. It gets them moving in the right direction and the direction they need to go in, and the act of kindness is never forgotten. I think so many of my women clients, as well as myself, do just what Meryl Streep did when she recently heard of her friend Nora Ephron's passing. And she said, this is what she said: I started to clean and make dinner. There are females' activities that make things okay, and how the next minute you'll do this and then you'll do that, and that's how you get through the day. Sharing that bond in a moment of crisis is a priceless gift to someone else, and that's the part of my job that I feel is social work, and it makes me love my job. To me, back to basics tells us that the most important personal asset in real estate is common sense, which to me incorporates all of the above in the outline. And you need a good sense of humor. I never take myself very seriously. When I am comfortable with a client, which means I know what personality I'm dealing with, and we have a trusting relationship, sometimes they start relying on me a little bit too much, and they always say, so what should I wait, and can I put my house on the market next spring, or a year from now, or 2 years from now, and what will the interest rates be, and how much money will I make, and how much will I lose, and on and on and on, and I just look at them completely dumbfounded. I always say the same thing. If I had that crystal ball and could tell you about the future markets, do you think I'd be standing here peddling real estate? And it always kind of breaks the ice and moves it forward. Last but not least, be kind to yourself. Have a mentor whose advice you really trust. I am fortunate to have had the best in the business. Kay Stade, who's no longer with us, hired me. George Krause, who's now in Westfield, was fantastic. And now Scott Anton. I really feel blessed about that, and it's important to have a mentor and whose words you can rely on and know they can give you that other opinion. You also need a confidant that you can share all those personal stories as well as the drive you crazy real estate stories that we all go through, and the stress and the pressure. And I have been very, very fortunate to have Sarah McClanahan as my colleague, who is the grand dame of Short Hills Real Estate and has been for many, many years, and I'm very grateful for that. In closing, Mark McCormick in the book, What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School, he says, know the facts, know the players, size the situation, and think on your feet. Thank you.